So what are they good for? Home altar constellations are good for a whole bunch of things. Develop your skills without pressure. Going away and coming back over and over again gives your subconscious a chance to do its work, and or you could say gives the field a chance to form. People have dreams about them. I call this slow intuition. You can experiment to your heart's content. You don't have to worry about representatives or time or group pressures or anything, or even a client if you're working for yourself. This is a real first setup of a constellation. We'll be talking about that in the training, but this is already an eloquent statement, just there. And you will just learn a whole hell of a lot about symbolism that is useful, not just in home altar constellations, but in group workshops as well. This is a great way to grow constellation work. People who aren't professionals are doing these. And in many cases, they end up going to professionals for help after they start doing them. So, and it's just a fabulous way to work with kids. That especially when they're, many kids are too young to attend a heavy-duty group workshop. This is a fabulous tool for remote constellations. I use this for all my remote work, except when I'm using Constellation Spaces, which is an online tool. But even with voice only, I can do home altar constellations in a single session or over a period of time. It works. I have records, and I do follow-up. All right, I do a constellation for someone in a package of 4 hours, and the last 15 minutes to half an hour of that is a follow-up session, somewhere 10 days to 2 weeks later, or sooner if it's necessary. But I want to know how these things are landing. I can also work with someone over a period of a couple of years and do, I have records of the constellations, and this is exactly what they look like. This is a real constellation. I just take a smartphone picture and I labeled it and I have some notes on it, and I can reconstruct pretty much whatever was important about that very quickly. I think that this is a way to teach yourself, train yourself, develop skills that will help you to do better constellations all around, no matter what kind. You learn to trust the field more, you stay open longer. Doing constellations in workshops, it's scary to be, 2/3 of the way through a 90-minute constellation and still have very little idea what the heck is going on. For beginning facilitators, this can be very, very nervous-making. It was certainly nervous-making for me. So this is a great tool for learning to go slow, learning to stay open, and not dealing with, learning certain of these skills without being under pressure from the client, the group, and time. I think that, I'm big on something called resonance. Anybody can move people around on a floor or objects around on a table. It is only meaningful in the constellation sense if you hold a resonance between what's on the table or on the floor in the group workshop and something deeper. And you can learn a great deal about how to hold the resonance doing home altar constellations. This, I think, is a very, very central little picture. I talked about picking flowers, each these symbols that emerge or that emerge when you do a little analysis, when you suddenly ask them questions and, oh, look at that. there's a branching that takes place. Really, you get lots and lots of potential meanings, but there's also a pruning that takes place as certain of the meanings don't work well together, or others form little teams and start to make a pattern. So there's a branching and there's a pruning that's going on, and there's an interplay in the way I teach this between intuition and analysis, between being in the field and thinking. As I said before, I don't think really that even the people who say they're only in the field have stopped thinking. I don't think it's possible. So home altar work gives us just a real good chance to look at these four things in action. And the thing is, we can stop the action. We've got records. We can roll a constellation. You got undos here. You can roll a constellation back. Just take a smartphone picture of it, and if like, oh, I think that was a wrong turn there, go right back. You learn an awful lot about symbols. Look at that conch shell there. There's so much, that is such a rich symbol. If this opening was down, it would be not open. It's the defensive position. And in that defensive position, look at the spikes, look at the armor, right? In this position, the opening is down towards the ground and pointed towards the ring and the piece of rose quartz. So in some sense, it's receptive to these. There's another position which rotates the thing this way, and it stands up on three of its points, and this receptor part becomes vertical instead of horizontal and down, and that's like, it seems, I don't know, there's different meanings for that. This is a piece of pottery with a broken ostrich shell. There's two conch shells in this constellation, the really big one and the little one, which is in the defensive position. There's just, you grow so much from looking at this stuff. And in the end, this will help you start to realize that the constellation doesn't stop at the beginning of the altar or the end of the altar, or at the beginning of a visit or at the end of a visit. The truth of the matter is, the reality around you is alive and conscious, and it would always be talking to you in terms of, you know, imagery, symbolism, feelings, not words for most people. It would always be, as Martin Buber says, it's an I-thou relationship and not an I-it relationship. If you want to go there, the constellation, a successful constellation starts out as a form of divination. It's like a tarot reading or throwing the I Ching. Information emerges from the deeper reality that we would not get otherwise. And then it becomes sympathetic magic. If we hold the resonance, then shifting, you know, we can shift non-present or non-physical realities by changing patterns of object persons that are linked to these symbolically. If we hold the resonance, which is the whole name of the game for me. But home altar work will really help you start to realize, you know, if a bug walks across your altar and it's very, you notice it, and you're looking at it, you know, like maybe it's talking to you. We won't look at that now, but in the class, well, we look at this constellation. This is after, right here is after the burden, the stuckness fell off. And this was, you know, this onion is trying to grow. And its roots have no soil. So the person who was doing this, you know, the class said, well, listen, why don't we just give it some soil? This is like supporting it, giving it some soil. So we gave it some soil. And when we gave it some soil, a bug walked out of the soil. I mean, literally, there was a bug. It walked out, and this is what it did. It came out of the soil. It came out of this now more grounded Anita, right? And it walked back over in the direction of mom, or at least closer to mom than to Anita's stuckness. And what does that mean? It means that, you know, as she gets more grounded, either it's happening or she becomes able to give this stuckness back to mom, which is what we're trying to do in this constellation. Okay, so I think we're, so there is a learning and a healing spiral here that is a big deal. And this is just, this course is a wonderful way to experience it and gain skills. All right, I'm going to stop this now. Okay, so we covered pretty much all of it. Do you want to read a couple of the testimonials, Sandy?
I will. We usually get a lot of people telling us as we're going through the courses that they're really enjoying it. They love Michael's approach. I hear that from nearly everybody. They love his approach. They love the way he breaks things down and explains. He uses great metaphors. And we do ask these people to please let us use some of their testimonials for our newsletters, for the webpage.
And he gets embarrassed.
Huh?
He gets embarrassed at the compliments.
Okay, so I chose a couple short ones that we have from one of our teleclasses from last year. Catherine Montgomery says, Michael is one of my all-time favorite teachers. His distinctive gift is synthesizing complex theories and concepts into practical applications almost anyone can find useful. And from the current video training course that we're in now, Karen from Australia says, having done constellation work with a number of leading global facilitators, I'm impressed with Michael's ability to frame, explain, and teach constellation work, and so reasonably priced. Thank you, Michael. And those are just a few that we wanted to do shorter ones. We have much longer ones that give you a lot more idea. We do have a testimonials page on the ReadyWorks website that you could see those, and we also include them in the newsletter.